Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about something that we already all knew. We knew, but we finally have, um, confirmation essentially. Amnesty International had already called this a couple of months back, I believe. And that is what the Genocide Scholars Association has done. And that is that they have declared Israeli actions in Gaza meet definition of genocide. So this is an article I wrote last night. If you're a subscriber to the tungstenwire.com, please subscribe. If you're not, please subscribe. Wait, no. If you're a subscriber to the tungstenwire.com, you would have gotten this in your inbox or you would have seen it on the website. If you're not a subscriber of the tungstenwire.com, please subscribe. I'm not very good at this. I don't do it very much. Okay, let's get into this article and go from there. So, the International Association of Genocide Scholars, or IAGS as they're known, the world leading professional body in its field, has passed a resolution stating that Israel's military conduct in Gaza meets the legal definition of genocide as defined by the United Nations. Now, this is something we already knew, right? Everybody's been saying it's a genocide since 2023 because there are genocidal statements being said. They are human animals. We're stopping all food, water, and fuel. These were said by members of the Israeli government. Their heritage minister just recently said that the army must find ways more painful than death for the civilians of Gaza. Killing them is not enough. He's the same guy that a couple days after October 7th said that nuking Gaza was an option. Remember, he stipulated civilians. He didn't say Hamas. He said civilians. So this is the issue. In a 3-page document, the IAGS detailed a series of Israeli actions throughout the 22-month conflict that it identifies as constituting genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. The association, which includes Holocaust experts among its 500 members, reported that 86% of its voting membership supported the resolution, with 28% of total members participating in the vote. The resolution cites several factors to support its conclusion, including widespread attacks on personnel and facilities essential for survival, such as those in the healthcare, aid, and educational sectors, which we already know. We saw, thankfully, not thankfully, but they killed a bunch of paramedics and then said that they didn't have their lights on and we didn't know who they were. So the IDF were just, protecting themselves. Then they recover a cell phone. Others, not the IDF, others, like civil workers, recover off of one of the dead paramedics who has been buried. They were buried in mass graves, by the way. They recovered his cell phone because the IDF missed it because they're incompetent, I guess. And he had been recording before they killed him. It shows that the ambulances were marked as ambulances, had their lights on, and that they were posing no threat when the gunshots started. So we know they lied. We know that they go after healthcare workers. There, Al Ali Hospital, I believe, was it, or Al Nasser Hospital, recently was just bombed because of a Hamas camera. 7 minutes later, they double tapped it again. Then Netanyahu comes out and says, "Oh, this was a mistake. This was a mistake." And then you look at Hebrew news sources, and they're saying, "No. The senior command absolutely approved this. This was the goal. This was the plan. We implemented exactly how we wanted to." It's a genocide. We know it's a genocide. And anyone who's trying to say it's not genocide right now, I don't know what leg they think they're standing on anymore. The whole world knows it's a genocide. Even the politicians who are not willing to talk about it know it's a genocide. The high number of casualties, including an estimated 50,000 children killed or injured, which the IAGS argues impacts the Palestinian people's ability to survive as a group. Public statements by Israeli leaders, we already talked about that, that dehumanize Palestinians, alongside support for the forced expulsion of Palestinians from Gaza and the near total demolition of housing in the territory. You're not, blowing up just military targets. You're blowing up entire neighborhoods. And then Israel's saying, well, yeah, Hamas is using them as human shields. They're the entire block was being used for arming and hiding armaments and whatnot. And what they're essentially trying to do, and this, is they're trying to sell the idea that it's okay to blow up apartment buildings because the civilians that live in there are affiliated with Hamas, or Hamas is using them as human shields, which isn't a good argument to begin with. But what they're really doing is making it unlivable. You're seeing so many videos now of people for 2 years saying that they will not leave the land, now wanting to leave the land. And that was the whole idea. And you can't blame them. They don't want to leave their homeland, the land of their forefathers. But it's not safe. They can't live a life. They're undergoing genocide. I'm sure there were... I don't want to get into it. But yeah. In response, the Israeli Foreign Ministry dismissed the report as based on Hamas lies. Oh yeah, of course. And poor research. Guys, the research is provided by you, by your soldiers on TikTok. We have Destiny going over to Israel on a paid trip, for propaganda. And we have a video of him talking to IDF soldiers saying, listen, guys, do your war crimes. Just stop recording them. Stop filming them with your phones. What an absolute, horrific timeline we live in. That is where we're at. We're telling the people perpetrating a genocide to stop recording their genocide. And then you're going to come at us, like Israel is going to come at us saying that, well, it's poorly researched when we're using the very footage your organizations are putting online. In response, the Israeli Foreign Ministry dismissed the report as based on Hamas lies and poor research, calling it an embarrassment to the legal profession. A spokesperson stated that Israel is itself a victim of genocide, that its actions are justified self-defense against Hamas. So, listen, I'm not here to say that Hamas wants to genocide or doesn't want to genocide Israelis. Okay? That we're so far beyond that argument now. We're so far beyond that argument. The intent is very, very evident with Israel, and they have the means. Hamas, their 2017 updated charter points out that they don't have an issue with the Jewish people. It's with Zionism. The IAGS resolution acknowledges that the October 7, 2023 Hamas attack, which killed approximately 1,200 people and saw 251 taken hostage, was a criminal act. However, it contends that Israel's military response has targeted Gaza's entire population, not solely Hamas. Exactly. Look, I'm not going to lie. I know that Abu Ubaidah and Yahya Sinwar and these guys, they welcomed martyrdom. They welcomed dying. And I'm not going to lie. If a Hamas member gets killed, if anybody that is in Palestine Islamic Jihad gets killed, I'm not sad. First of all, that's what they wanted, and second, they are military targets. What I will say is I am sad that they have to be militant because of the oppression by Israel. The oppression by Israel is the issue. You want Hamas to be gone? Don't give them a reason to be around. You want PIJ to be gone? Don't give them a reason to be around. The oppression is the underlying sickness. The apartheid is the underlying sickness. Israel and the way they conduct themselves is the underlying sickness. PIJ, Hamas, anyone else is just a symptom of that sickness. They're there because of that sickness. Get rid of it, they have no reason to exist. The 1948 UN Genocide Convention, established after the Holocaust, defines genocide as acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. Exactly what was happening in Gaza. This declaration from the IAGS aligns with similar assessments from several leading human rights organizations, including 2 based in Israel. I think one is B'Tselem. Your Israelis' own human rights organizations are saying that what's happening constitutes genocide. However, the UN and a number of Western nations have stated that they will only consider a ruling from an international court to be authoritative on the matter. So the ICC, essentially, or the ICJ. The International Court of Justice is currently hearing a case brought by South Africa accusing Israel of genocide. The court has not yet made a ruling and has granted Israel an extension until January 2026 to present its defense. Israel has rejected the case as a blood libel with anti-Semitic motivations. No, South Africa sees, just like Ireland sees, their history in what's happening in Palestine. And that's why they have been principled on this. While the rest of the moral Western nations have been absolutely ghouls, not only being complicit in stopping the genocide, but actively arming that genocide to a point where they are no longer complicit. They're not just complicit, or they're not only not complicit, they're active participants in that genocide. The IAGS noted that its resolution is independent and has no legal bearing on the ICJ case, obviously. According to the figures from the Hamas-run Ministry of Health, and I included Hamas-run for a reason. I'm not saying that, because all the other publications are putting in Hamas-run as a way to say that they're not credible. But I put in Hamas-run because we know through precedent that it is credible. All the past conflicts have shown that their numbers are always accurate. And if anything, these numbers they're giving now are severely undercounted because they cannot, in their own admission, A, their record keepers are all being killed, and B, they cannot judge a dead body by body parts. Right? When they get a bag full of dead body parts, they can't tell you how many people that bag of dead body parts are. It could be 3 people, it could be 4 people, it could be 5 people. They don't know. So they're not included in the number. The number is way higher than you can ever think. According to the figure from the Hamas-run Ministry of Health, which are considered reliable by international observers, though they do not distinguish between civilians and combatants, over 63,557 people have been killed and 160,660 injured in the conflict. We know it's probably closer to 400,000 dead. Furthermore, a UN-backed food security monitor confirmed in August that famine is occurring in parts of Gaza. This we already know. Israel, which controls all border crossings into the territory, is accused of causing the famine through restrictions on aid. Not only are they restricting aid, they're also shooting people. They're GHF, the American-funded Gaza Humanitarian Fund, or whatever it's called. Such a corporate, dark money type organization, if you've ever heard of one. They have 4 distribution points now. That's it. 4. For the remaining, whatever it is, 1.2 million. Remember, this was 2.2 million people. Now there's maybe let's say at best 1.5 million people left. 4 distribution points. And routinely, the IDF is opening fire on these aid seekers. Of course there's going to be famine when it's like that. Under international law, an occupying power bears responsibility for preventing starvation and protecting civilian life. Exactly. One last thing. Zionists always say, in which other war has a nation had to make sure that their enemy was fed? This is not a war, right? You're an apartheid state. You control Gaza. Yeah, sure, you don't control the, civilian authority within Gaza. You control its air, you control its sea, you control its borders. You control who comes in and who goes out. You control how much money goes in, you control how much money goes out. You control what aid goes in, what aid goes out. At that point, you're not like any other nation. You're not Russia and Ukraine, right? You're not Pakistan, India. You're different because you control their aid, you controlled their borders beforehand. So now it is imperative on you to make sure that their aid is allowed in. The best way to fix this is to open up the borders, right of return, one state solution, reparations for those who were dispelled from their land. A secular country with rights for everyone. I doubt we get that, but everyone knows that's the line. The funny thing is, I don't have much more to say to this. I'll say this one last thing and then I'll end the video. The funny thing is, not funny. I don't know why I keep saying funny thing. The fact of the matter is, all these Western politicians, Mark Carney, Richie Torres, Joe Biden, whoever, Keir Starmer, whoever you talk about in the West, they bring up the 2-state solution. We believe the 2-state solution is the correct way forward to end this conflict. No. We're way beyond a 2-state solution. And we know they don't actually believe in the 2-state solution. The reason they keep parroting the 2-state solution is because they know it'll never work, and they know that there will always be conflict, and they know that they will never have to actually look into a 1-state solution and pressure Israel into simply not existing in the way that it exists. Because when people ask you, does Israel have a right to exist? It doesn't matter, because it does exist right now. It doesn't matter if it has a right to exist. The truth is, though, it doesn't have a right to exist in the way that it exists right now. Whether the answer is yes or no, it doesn't matter. Right now, the way it exists, it cannot exist. Apartheid nations cannot exist. Anyways, I don't want to get into this too much, but I feel like I felt like a little bit of a liberal Zionist at times talking about this. Um, anyways, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, comment, whatever the thing is. If you want to read more articles like this, please go ahead to the tungstenwire.com and subscribe. It's free to do. We have not opened up paid subscriptions because we get a couple of we get good views, to be honest, on our articles, but it doesn't feel right to earn money on the suffering of my Palestinian brothers and sisters. The whole point, the whole intention of this is to spread awareness and to make sure that when the time comes and I have to face whoever I have to face, and they ask me what I did for Palestine, whatever little I could do, that I did it. I can write about it. I can make videos about it. I can share it. I wish I could do more. I probably could do more, to be honest. Thank you for watching. Peace be upon you.